Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Bethany and I'm here with Jane, and you just heard all about her in her intro. And we're going to have some real conversation. I mean, like, what else would you expect from this podcast? But Jane's going to share her story. It's really powerful. She's just sharing actually part of her story. Incredibly powerful, and I know it's going to deal some hope to you today and show you proof that good things can come from bad things. So, welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm just going to let you start what with where you want to start and about your journey, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and start. Um, First of all, I want to say that for the listeners, Bethany and I were talking before the podcast, and you just opened my heart in
Aw.
the impact that being real and authentic and who we are in the world, that just by itself gives people hope, right?
Mhm.
It gives them permission to be who they want to be,
Mm,
who they are at their heart
mhm.
versus who they were told or think they should be.
Yes.
So in my heart, that is what I wish for people, is we
Mhm.
can say who we really are, be who we really are, and others are inspired to do that in their own beautiful way for themselves.
Mm,
So thank you
yes.
for that. So I'll just go on in on what started me on my journey towards self-love. I was in therapy school. I was getting a PhD for therapy school,
Mm,
and I was in a relationship that I thought, this is the man I'm going to marry.
mhm.
And what was really interesting is, I'll tell you a little backstory. Like, always been on a self-growth, self-improvement. I got to be better. I was coming from the place of I'm broken. I'm broken, and I
Mm,
need to fix me, was my way of being. And a man's love, in my story, was what would fix me,
mm,
right? Except even then, a part of me, I was probably in my late 20s then. Even then, a part of me was like, Jane, really, I think it would serve you well to love yourself. And part of me, that was that niggling there. But I remember I was living with him at the time, and I was standing in the living room, and it was a beautiful, beautiful fall day. And maybe it's spring, I don't know, but it was beautiful. It was sunny. The sun was coming in the
mhm.
windows. And I stood there thinking, well, I'll never really know in this life if I'm lovable all by myself, because I'm going to marry this guy and then he'll always love me. So I'll never really know if I'm lovable separate from him. And I
Mhm.
had this thought, and I'm like, oh, well, I'd given up on my dream of loving myself because I
Wow.
found my man, right? 2 weeks later, Bethany, the relationship started falling apart,
Wow.
right? He left me for an ex-girlfriend,
Mm.
right? So, just a bit of a coincidence. I'd given up on my dream, and the universe was like, oh, no, you don't.
Uh-uh.
No, you have this dream, honey, for a reason. So this is getting in your way. We're taking it away.
Mm,
So, and I did not at that time like heed the lessons of the universe gracefully at all. And I'm still working to do it quasi gracefully, right? So I went into a year, at least a year, maybe going on two, of just being mad and being a victim and saying, well, why should they be happy? And what's wrong with me? And why didn't he pick me? And why is she better than
mm,
I am? And how dare they? Like, I was total victim.
mhm,
Oh my goodness. And I was drinking. Like, I would go to work and try to work, basically, work out, which was the only time I felt okay, and come home and drink and watch TV to numb out,
mhm,
right? But I was also kept reading self-help books because I was broken. So
mm,
one day I was reading this book. I think it was Harville Hendrix, You Can Have It All, but I can't find the line that struck me so much. But I was reading this book, and it said, when somebody else hurts you, they hurt you once. You hurt yourself 1,000 times
mm.
with the thoughts of how they wronged you.
Yeah.
And I was reading this book, and I went, oh,
Uh,
oh dear. this line was meant for me. Because
Yeah.
I didn't even talk to my ex in 2 or 3 months at that point. And even he was done with his part of our interaction. I was the one going stab, 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 stab,
Right.
stab, 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 stab. And so at that moment I went, okay, so this belief that I need a man to love me, to be valuable, it's not working for me. So let's try another way. Let's try self-love. So literally, bless his heart, he kicked me, not he did, but my relationship with him kicked me into my journey towards self-love for real. And I've been on it ever since. And now it's what I do for everyone I can possibly influence. So it was the worst moment of my life. And it turned out to be the most powerful moment of my life.
Mm. So walk us through. So when you, so I've heard people say God, universe, source, whatever. It's either a feather or a 2x4. Like,
Right?
we'll be hit with a feather, like, hey, you need to do this, and hear that voice and ignore it and be tickled by the feather, so to speak. And then
Mm-hmm.
if that doesn't work out, then it's whack.
Right.
Okay, here's the lesson. When are you going to learn the lesson?
Right.
So you've reached your whack, the 2x4 has fallen, so to speak.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, well, I guess I need to learn to love myself. So where do you even start? What does that look like? How do you do that?
Oh, that's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. And it happened so long ago. I'm like, well, where did I start? I don't remember where I started, but I know what I give the people I work with. And it's what I still give myself every single day, right? Because self-love is a muscle. It's not like
Mm,
when people say, well, I did work, or I did therapy, or I read that book, or I thought I solved that. How come I'm not better? And a friend of mine I was talking to about this very dilemma, she's like, well, self-love is like exercise.
right.
You don't go, okay, I got my muscles, I'm done, and now I'm going to learn to speak French.
Right.
No, keep exercising, right? It's like, this is a muscle. If we don't use it, it
Right.
becomes flaccid and we lose it. The same with self-love.
Mm.
So it's little daily moments of self-compassion, self-love, self-care, what's this word I'm looking for? Integrity, like integrity to ourselves. And it's constant self-correcting, right? It's not like, okay, I love myself. That's it. I'm
Right.
done.
Right.
It's like, oh, and then this person presses on that button. Ooh, should I give in? Because I want to make them happy. I don't want them to be mad at me. So I don't need to meditate today. I'll go help them, right? That's not self-love, right? So it's little moments of, how am I speaking to myself? Like the first tool I give anybody is, if I were queen of the world, if I had power over the world, I would ban should, must, have to, need, and for Midwesterners, gotta. I would ban them from our vocabularies, right? Those 5 words create maybe the most stress internally on a daily basis than any I know of. So can I do an experiment with you? Will you do one with me?
Sure.
And then if the listeners can do it along too, because one of the things I found is the tools I give are so simple that our ego goes, well, that's too simple, it won't work. I mean, I do this all the time. That's too simple, it can't work, right? But when we feel it, when we experience it, then we go, oh, maybe it does work. So here's the experiment.
Okay.
So Bethany, I'm sure you have something you should do or you need to do, or it's on your list and it's kind of dragging you down because you haven't done it yet. Do you have something?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Now say to yourself or out loud, whichever you prefer, I should be, or I need to, or whatever, that thing.
I should be making all the graphics for my upcoming virtual speaking event.
Great. And now close your eyes. And what do you feel in your body?
Yuck.
Right. And where do you feel yuck? Right?
Here in my chest.
In your
Yeah.
chest.
It's
Right.
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this thing is on your list for a reason. These graphics, you want to have them done for the, right? I
Right.
mean, this isn't like you saying, well, never mind, I'm not going to do them, although sometimes that is the case. But in this case, it's on your list for a reason.
Mhm.
So say instead, either it'd be a good idea or it'd be helpful for me to work on those graphics.
Oh, it'd be a good idea for me to work on those graphics.
Great. And close your eyes. And what do you notice?
Yeah, it's good.
Right? And your whole
It's
face
like,
lit up.
it's
Your whole face,
empowering.
yes, your whole face,
Yeah,
your being was different when you said it that way.
right.
Because when we use the word should, must, have to, need, whenever we use those, we're saying, and you failed because you should do it and you haven't done it yet. So what's wrong with you that you haven't done it? You are so screwed up. Why are you lazy? Why are you avoiding it? What's wrong? And so those words create stress. So in order to do the thing that is on our list because it's a good idea, we literally create more resistance to do what it is we want to do. Versus when we say it's a good idea, be helpful, then we not only take that resistance away, but we seed our subconscious, hey, this is important. Find ways to do this or find space to do this. So we put our subconscious, our unconscious to work for us in this thing that is on our list for a reason. And if it's not on our list for a reason, if it's on our list and we don't really care about it, then we let it go. Then we're like, oh, I don't have to do that. I actually don't have to do that.
Right.
And then we take a deep breath and fight the guilt because we're doing something that is against the rules we learned.
Yeah. That's simple but profound.
Right? I know.
Yes.
And when we honor ourselves that way, no, this is a good idea. This is important. And we stop resisting. Like your whole face, you looked uncomfortable when you said, I should be working on the graph, right? Because it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Saying to ourselves, you're failing, you're failing, you're failing.
Right.
Instead of say, it's a good idea. Well, we'll figure out how to do it. I can do this. It's a good idea. It'll happen. It's a good idea. I'll find the time. And that's like our internal integrity. Like should, must, have to, need are this external rules of here's how you should be living versus this is what's important to me. You want to have graphics for your upcoming event. You do. It's important to you.
Right.
Right? Right? So just saying it's a good idea is more honoring of what is true for you than should, must, have to, need, which are disempowering words.
Absolutely. It changes the whole vibe.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And what is self-love but feeling better? And in these little moments, we can just feel better. Like in this little moment, like you feel better about that.
Right.
And so if our day can be made up of, oh, I feel better about that. I feel good about that. I feel good about that versus, oh God, I can't believe I haven't done that yet. When am I going to find the time? I've got so many things on my plate. Like we can choose little moments of feeling good or content or accepting or little moments of I suck.
And the fact that we get to choose that, but often it's so much autopilot that we automatically go to the should, must, have to, need, gotta. I like have it written down over here. That's why I'm looking. Yeah, because we're mean to ourselves. Why are we so mean to ourselves?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, our neocortex, there's some thought that it is the seat of our ego. Like our ego is neocortex activity. I don't know if that's true, but that's a theory and it makes sense to me because our neocortex is the newest part of our brain. It is the part that unless we are in the flow, unless we're actively engaged, you know, that thing where we're totally involved in what we're doing and no outside thoughts happen. You're just kind of like, and time flies and unless we're there, our neocortex is going, we got to find, got to look for danger, got to figure things out, got to make sure there are no problems, got to fix things, got to find danger, got to protect myself. It's constantly searching for what's wrong or danger. So our brain by default is set up to do that. So we're always looking for what's wrong, which is one, you know, doesn't feel good. And in the time of when we lived in the savannah with tigers, that was super helpful.
Right.
You want to make sure you've got food. You want to make sure there are no big rustling noises. You want to be on constant alert. Otherwise you'll die.
Right.
But while our lives for most of us have changed, not for everybody, sadly, but for most of us have changed. We make email, we make phone notifications. Those become tigers. Like we go into what? Okay, got to be what? Who? What? Who's gonna? Right. So we constantly have danger, and we're constantly doing that. That's how our brain works.
Mm-hmm.
But with that choice of how do I want to choose? How do I want to be? Do I want to meditate even for 5 minutes a day? Do I want to be aware of my words and notice their effect? Do I want to find out what's good? Do I want to look for what I can appreciate in my life, even though there's a bunch of stuff I still want?
Mm-hmm.
What is here that is so giving me already? Right? So there's that. But I think the second reason we're taught to be mean to ourselves is because we were taught to be mean to ourselves. Because when we're little kids, our brain isn't fully functioning. And from 0 to 2, our brain is in delta. I'm getting brain geek here. Is that okay?
Love it.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Bring it.
So 0 to 2, our brains are mostly in delta waves, which are just kind of like, it's where we are when we're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of, but as little kids, we're awake and we're just experiencing. There's no thought. There's no analyzing it. It's just, response to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
We just, something happens and we respond. 2 to around 6 or 7, our brains are mostly in theta. Mm-hmm. And theta, while it's great for like connecting to the universe and everything, it's also the state our brains are in when we're under hypnosis.
Right.
Right. So it's not like when we hear something, it's like, okay, got it. That's what I'll do. It's not that makes sense. It's okay, got it. That's the truth.
Right.
So when we're little kids and we hear, I don't know if you heard this, but I certainly did. And not because my parents were bad, but this is what they learned. They're teaching me to be safe in the world the way they learned. And there's like, bad girl, don't do that. So I'm like, bad girl, got it. That's the truth. Not like, you spilled soda all over the couch when I told you not to put soda on it's like, no, I'm bad. Mm-hmm. It's not, my action was a mistake and not to be repeated. It was like, I am bad. So we take those messages internally because we don't yet have the brain to go, well, that's stupid. I'm not bad. I spilled my soda. Like kids spill soda, deal with it, parent. No, we don't have that brain capacity. So in our worldview, unless we can actively be conscious of it and choose other stories that are more true for us, our worldview is formed by the time we're 7. And it becomes unconscious. Like 90 to 95% of our thoughts and actions are unconscious. Yes. And you and I are working really hard to make these things conscious, because when they're conscious, we have choice.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. When I'm working with people, I always tell them, you're not responsible for your I call it programming, those first 7 years. You're not responsible for your programming, but now you're aware of it, right? You're waking up to it. And so now you are responsible for changing it. Now you get to decide. Now you get to take your power back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
You get to decide what's true for you. I love what you said. Choose the story that's more true for you. Like, we get to write our own story. And so often we just give our power away, and then we end up living out an entire life of a story that isn't even ours because we're not being true to who we are.
Right. And one of the things I love to say, and I had us do the physical feeling of the should, must, have to, need, is our mind tells us stories. Our body tells us what's true for us in this moment. Like when we listen to our thoughts and feel the effect on them, like, oh, I can't believe you did that. That was so stupid. When we feel that effect on our body's like, that's awful. Right? No, we never feel good when we beat ourselves up, when we don't feel good when we put other people down.
Right.
Not after that first initial, I'm better than you, high. and then we feel
Right.
like crap.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So listening to our bodies, I think that's a really good first step towards self-love.
Mm.
Paying attention to our thoughts and listening to their effect on our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies are truth tellers.
Absolutely. I love all this. So you are my
You too.
people. You are my people. So when I'm working with
Yay!
people, I'll say, you're not always going to catch the thought because it's so programmed that it happens quicker than you can even become aware of it. It's so fast, right? It's so second
Yes.
nature. That person pulls out in front of you and immediately you're seething. Like all that's programming.
Yeah.
But you can recognize the seething or the intense anger or that heightened emotion where it's taken you out of your state of peace. Like
Yes.
anytime that you're not in peace, pay attention because there's something that's you've given
Right.
your power to, right? You've given your power away somehow. And so, and yeah, oh my goodness, I love the framework of loving yourself as a basis for all of this because that makes so much sense. True to who you are. Oh no.
Yep. Yep. Psychology by Sonia and Renee Taylor. Oh, it's a powerful book. And why did I just bring that? Oh, she said, we have different religions, we have different colors, we have different genders, we have different races, we have different politics, we have different stuff, right? She said, we all have a body. So if we all love our body, the world's going to change because we all have a body. So let's start there. Love that because it's true. We all have our thoughts, we all have our feelings, we all have our body. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
And that will change the world.
Mm-hmm.
We change our relationship to ourselves. We change our relationship to the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I just tweeted today a wonderful Che Guevara quote. It was something like, I'm not going to remember it exactly, but it's something like, he said, this may seem silly or ridiculous, but no revolution works without love. Something like that. Isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful. And that's so true. I mean, if you look at the emotional vibrational scale, love, joy, all that, like that's the highest you can be. So yeah. I love it.
And when we're fighting against ourselves, you said, how do we learn this stuff? When we fight internally against ourselves, we fight externally against others. When we can have love and acceptance and compassion for our strengths as well as our weaknesses, we can have love and acceptance and compassion for other people's strengths and weaknesses. We can also have boundaries. I mean, it's not like, I love you, so you can treat me anyway, even if it's not helpful, right? It's like, right. I love you, I'm not going to be with you.
Right.
Because our relationship is not good for my being. Love you, will not interact with you. That's love also.
Absolutely. And when you love yourself and you listen to yourself and you know what you need, then you're more able to have boundaries because, right, that's all tied together. Self-love, your worthiness, all of that is meshed together. Yeah. And, people that don't feel worthy are typically also people that don't fully love themselves. And they typically are also people that have poor boundaries.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would take the word typically out of that sentence.
Yes, agree. Yeah.
When I see someone being mean or being evil or anything, it's like they do not love themselves. You can't, or arrogant. You can't tell me an arrogant person loves themselves because we've no proof. We've no need to make ourselves better. If we love ourselves, we're just like, I'm great and so are you. Yay. Versus I have to be better than you because I have to be better than somebody because I suck inside.
Right.
So it's always lack of self-love.
Right.
Always. I mean, there are brain disorders too with chemical imbalances.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole, um, I think healing and loving ourselves go hand in hand. Yes? Like, and go ahead.
Yeah, this is an issue I'm not quite solid on, because for me, let me speak for myself personally. When I'm healing myself, I'm coming from the space of, and I came from, I'm broken, I need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm trying to wrap my mind around, how do I be with, like, being quote better, maybe more whole, maybe I want to be more who I am.
Mm. Mm.
So instead of healing, it's like I'm peeling away the lessons, this programming I took
Mm-hmm.
on, so I
Mm-hmm.
can come to who I really am versus
Mm-hmm.
who I learned I should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think healing is a peeling away of that which we learned, which was not helpful or true, to come,
Sure.
like, more of ourselves versus I got to fix this part, and I got to fix this part, and I got to, which, I still struggle with that one. I'm just like, oh, I got to, no,
Right, because we're not broken, we're becoming.
Yes. It's such a, not a fun, it's not a clear concept, right?
Mm.
It's so hard not to go to, I'm broken, I need to be better. When I'm this way, then I will be better. When I'm this way, then I will be whole, then I will be fixed, then I will be.
Mm-hmm. Because it goes against the whole idea of, so my coach said to me a couple weeks ago, you are exactly where you need to be right now. And I'm like, no, 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 no,
Right,
no,
right.
no, no, you don't understand. Like, because I'm so impatient with my growth. Like, and it doesn't matter. I've been doing this over a decade. And I
No.
just, and sometimes I get so impatient about where I want to be that it destroys my current journey. I mean, it
Yes.
destroys the
Yes.
happiness in my current journey because
Right.
I'm so hell bent on getting to whatever I see as my next level that I forget to be present. And
Exactly.
and so
Exactly.
yeah. And so yeah,
I,
go
I
ahead.
went to I went to a talk. Adia Shanti has a beautiful story that illustrates that exact concept, which you and I both learned, right? So I was watching him one time, and he said, okay, so imagine you are a shoe guru. You're the great shoe guru. And the shoe comes up to you, the sneaker. Sneaker comes up to you and says, oh, great shoe guru. How do I be tell me how to be a shoe. And the shoe guru is, well, I can't, because you are a shoe. Yeah, I know, but I want to be more of a shoe. Like, do I need new laces? Well, you can't be more, because you are a shoe. So you literally, no, I know, but isn't there a road I should walk down? Like a certain road that will take me more to shoeness than I am? And the shoe guru goes, no, right? This is what we do. If I want to be better, no, I'm not good enough yet. I gotta be better before I can really appreciate myself, before I really can love myself.
Right.
We're all trying to be a shoe when we're already a shoe.
Right.
It's it's a both hysterical and sad
Right.
state of being, right?
Right. Loving
Like, our
ourselves.
wholeness is already there. We're
Yes.
just peeling away to see it more, but
Right.
we're not creating more wholeness. We're just enabling ourselves to see it more.
Right. It's almost like conditional love. Like when I get here, then I'll love myself. I mean, just like,
Yes.
or conditional happiness about anything. When I get this, then I'll feel whole, then
Right?
I'll feel successful, then I'll feel worthy, whatever that is. And I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Yep. And I have things in my life I'm doing that about right now.
yeah, it's a journey. I mean, and no matter if you've been doing this for 5 minutes or 25 years, like there's a devil at every level, so to speak. There's, and you come up against
Yep.
it in different ways. And it truly is a process of becoming. And, I'm
Yeah.
definitely not the person I was when I started. I don't even recognize myself, as far as like my
Right.
behavior and my thinking, but I'm not the person that I want to be yet either, but I do love myself more today than I ever have.
Yeah. Yeah. Like goals to self-love for me, like I'm hoping I will love myself more until the day I die. And
Mm,
goals aren't like, okay, here's the goal, and then we pass it, because a goal is a guiding light. They said it's not so much a goal as a light to guide you
mm,
through your life. And you're always moving toward it. So you don't ever want to reach it, because it's a guiding light
mhm.
to guide you. Versus, okay, now I passed it. Now I learn French again, right? It's like,
Right,
I always want to love myself more
right.
there, because there's always more to love. And how wonderful. Like when I can, sometimes I'm with that and I'm like, oh my God, I'll never get there. And sometimes I'm with that and I go, oh,
Yeah, what
there's
a gift.
what? Yeah, there's more. Holy cow. But I'm so lovable now. Can't even imagine
Mhm,
what that's going to be like. And every new level of self-love I get to, I go, oh, could not even imagine
mhm,
that this was possible, that I could feel this much love.
mhm.
Each step, each stage, it's like, wait, you're kidding me. There's more?
Right,
Which if I can get it that way, I'm good.
absolutely. I think that when we love ourselves well, then we can love others well too. We can give grace, we
Oh,
can give compassion. I
yeah,
was talking to my 14-year-old last night, and he was hurt by a girl at school, and he has fabricated this whole story as to why she did what she did. And I'm like,
right.
be careful of the story that you're telling yourself, because we just need to know what the facts are. The facts are she didn't call you back or whatever it is.
Right,
That's the
right.
fact. Like, you can make up a
Right.
horrible, because I'm ugly, my forehead's big, I have big feet. Like, I mean, you can tell yourself whatever story, but how is that serving you? And then, I
Right.
went a little bit deeper with him, because we've done a ton of, well, self-love mindset work. And I'm like, buddy,
Mhm.
just think about this for a minute. Sometimes you act a certain way, and you feel a certain way, and you don't even know your own story as to why, and it's like 10 layers deep. It takes you
Right.
asking yourself a lot of questions. Is Why was I so defensive? Why wouldn't I talk to my coach? Why didn't I do this and this? Why did I act this way and get really mad when this person said that to me? So you don't even know your whole story, your own story. Focus on that, because you're making up stories for other people, and you don't even know your own. And you never, it's a process to know your own. And so seeing people as they're navigating their own story, and considering everything in the best light that you can until proven otherwise. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Right.
it
It's
is
so hard to do.
oh my gosh, especially when you're hurt and he's hurt
Right.
and he's angry, and he thinks if he can stay mad or find someone to blame, that it'll protect his heart, but then
Right.
that closes him off from connection. And we're wired for connection. And so
Yeah.
just navigating all of that, and then in the process loving himself, like being kind to himself, and
Yeah.
not being like, because he's trying to figure out what he did wrong, and
Right.
I
Right.
don't he didn't do anything wrong. And so
Right.
but boy, it's a journey, and those things can mess with you, those things, like, you don't forget. And
Oh,
I, I there's so much about what you've shared that it's yeah. I wrote down three main points, but I also have should, must, have to, need, and gotta, that
yeah.
I want to, like, put on a sticky note somewhere. I talk about should, and like not shoulding all over yourself and not shoulding on others. But
Right.
I really like the other words too, because boy, you're right. I mean,
They're
they're
powerful.
right up with they're like all part of that whole crappy story that we tell ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think they've all got to go. But
Right. No, they don't got it, but it sure would be
I
helpful.
just didn't even realize.
We
Ah,
do it all the time. All the time. We are unconscious of most of the words we use. Which makes sense, because Bethany, can you imagine if we stood around thinking of all the stories we tell and all that, we get nothing done.
Oh,
if we could only focus on all our work,
oh,
that would take up
right.
all our time.
Well, right. I mean, there's studies that say we have 50,000 thoughts a day. And I've seen a study recently that said we have 90,000. Regardless, there's no way we can filter all that. Like, there's no way
Right.
that we have the capacity to filter all that. But oh my goodness. Yeah, it's, we're
We
so,
don't.
there's so much depth to us as humans, which is amazing and beautiful
Yes.
and wonderful. And, um, but I go back to the first thing I wrote down when you were talking is you're not broken. You're on a journey. You're not broken. And I went to a church
Right.
where the
Right.
pastor consistently, I mean, every Sunday we heard broken and messy, broken and messy. This world's broken and messy, broken and messy. And, you know, at the time I didn't realize why I left there feeling yucky.
Yeah.
But
Ugh.
like looking back, I mean, and not that there's anything wrong. Like he's on his journey too. Like, you know, and
Yep.
I'm not judging or saying
Yep.
church is bad or whatever. But for us, we felt yucky about that. Felt heavy.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like empowering. It felt deflating and
Yes.
stifling. And so instead of saying that
Yeah.
you're broken, just know that you're on a journey and you're right where you're supposed to be at this place in time. And you have opportunity moment by moment. Like truly, this is all this work is a moment by moment thing. It really is.
Absolutely.
You just put your filter on, know how you feel in your body, and choose how you're going to show up moment to moment to moment.
Moment by moment. Yeah. That's what we've always got. Forever or even next hour sometimes feels too much. You're right. It's like
Mhm.
I had a friend who was so stressed. He's like, I just focused on my next breath.
Yeah.
I can do my next breath. I can do my next breath. And I'm like, that's a moment by moment practice. And
Right.
and that's what worked for him at that time. And we've always got that. This next moment. I can do this next moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff overwhelms it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I got this moment. I can do this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay in this moment. I'm okay in this moment. Look, I've just had 3 moments of okay. Now I'm crushingly despairing. Got it. Okay. Take it, breath. I got this moment. And it
Right.
really is. You're right. We always, and that's the only time we have power. Like the only time we
Absolutely.
really can affect change is in this moment. We can't change the past
Right.
and we can't change the future. We
Right.
can only affect this moment. We keep forgetting that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I have a t-shirt that says "Be here now."
Yes. So simple, so profound. I can't even believe how profound those 3 words are.
Right.
Right?
It's really all that we have. And um, I, boy, I spent a lot of years um, beating myself up for the past and
Me too.
worrying about the future.
Oh my
And
God, me too.
I live my best when I just stay in the moment.
Right.
And it's there. Yeah. And it's hard because we're taught, I mean, we're
Practice.
basically taught not to, you know.
Yep. Up not to also like
Hmm.
this practice of being in the moment. It's 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 like I think it's I'm trying not to say need. It's helpful to be more consistent even in exercise.
Mm,
Because those negative thoughts, I've read a study that says anywhere from 62,000 to 90. So who knows? But there are a lot of thoughts. And we are, by default, they're negative. Like something like 70 to 80% of our thoughts are just negative and they're
mm,
repetitive.
mm-hmm.
So we're constantly being hit by negative, repetitive thoughts. And, beliefs are just thoughts we keep believing.
Right.
Beliefs are just thoughts we keep thinking.
Right.
So it is this moment, and I choose this, and I choose this, and I
Yes.
choose this, and I choose
Yes.
this. And then I forgot to choose for 3 days. See, now I'm choosing this. I'm choosing this.
Right.
That's where the self-compassion comes in because I don't know anybody who can live in the moment, not live there.
Right. Well, right. And there's things that throw us off. I mean, I heard a speaker say
Yeah.
once that we're either in a crisis, headed for a crisis, or coming out of a crisis. Like that's just, that's life. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. But I understand what he's saying. I mean, because it's a series. I mean, nothing, it's
Yeah.
cyclic. Everything in this, the waves coming in
Right.
and out, the sun. I mean, everything is cyclic. So nothing is to last here. I mean, okay, death, fine, taxes or whatever. But
Right. Right.
but otherwise, like, what we're experiencing, a lot of times I think when we're having a moment of stress or worry, we think to ourselves, well, it goes back to your words, like this is never going to end, this
Right.
is not ever changing. And that's not true. Everything changes.
Everything. Everything. One of the things I tell my clients is no feeling in the history of the world has ever lasted forever. Yours won't either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once we start to pay attention to our body and notice that, it's like our feelings are changing all the time,
All the time.
constantly.
Yeah.
But when they feel bad, our brains are like, this is going to be like this way forever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's never true. It's never true.
Right. When you're working with your clients, and do you talk with them how to feel their feelings, how to allow their feelings? Can you, what do you,
Bethany, that's such a great question. Because so many people, when they come to me, I say, well, what are you feeling right now? And they're like, happy. I'm like, what's it physically feel like? They said, I'm thinking I'm happy. So literally they were taught not to pay attention to anything below their head. So it's building neural pathways. It's paying attention. And then what I frequently start with people is like, okay, so imagine what happiness feels like. Like imagine if happiness were some part of your body, where would you imagine it would be? And then they always come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't, I'm like, choose a place. You can be your big toe. There's no right or wrong here. Okay, my big toe. Okay, great. No, actually, they always say then another body part. So they'll say, oh, my knee. Okay, great. Now imagine this happy. It's usually not happy. It's usually stressed or guilty or something. Imagine this were shape. What shape would it be? And then they imagine the shape. Okay, so imagine if this shape had a temperature. What temperature would it be? And that they can always do that.
Mm-hmm.
And in our brain, when we imagine, the same neurons are firing as when it's actually happening.
Right.
So they're retraining their mind to notice and to pay attention to their body. So
Yes.
I just have them imagine, and then invariably they go, oh, it's in my gut and it's churning and it's kind of warm and now it's moving. And then they build their own neural pathways simply by their attention and their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody I've ever met who's not been able to connect with their bodies with practice and imagination.
Mm-hmm. I think we're just so used to stuffing, to not being aware. And I'm not sure if it may be Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about like how your brain is for thinking and your body is for feeling, and
Right.
and so often we don't even recognize what's happening. And that's our first sign of everything, when we're off, that's our first sign. And I love that you ask about the shape and the location and the temperature. So I went through I was trying to remember who it was even. I went through an exercise with someone, a practitioner of some kind, a healer.
Right. Someone
and,
wise.
Right. and she had us picture whatever wasn't in flow, whatever didn't feel like amazing to us right then. She had us picture it and then as a shape and as a color and as a certain size. Like, is it the size of a beach ball? Does it take up the whole room? Like whatever. And we closed our eyes. And then she had us picture it like shattering into a million pieces, and then just breathing that in and allowing it to dissipate and then go and be smaller and smaller, and then asked everyone, how they felt at the end. And it was amazing. It was amazing when you would just allow the feeling to be there and then allow it to pass and visualize that everything in my body changed, like how I felt and what I was thinking about changed. Like immediately I felt empowered. Immediately I felt lighter.
Right.
Immediately, and I think, well, at least for me, I mean, I wasn't raised with any of this stuff. I probably would have been taught that it was satanic of some kind to do that because they couldn't connect it to the Bible somehow, or it was wrong because we couldn't find it in Proverbs or something. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it's been a game changer for me, and the more I do it, the more connected I feel to God, source, universe.
Yes. Right.
So yeah, it's a game changer. Well,
And I love that you said that. Yeah, because just to look at it the other way, it's so powerful. And we do it default on the negative all the time. We're imagining future catastrophes. We're remembering past hurts. So we're
yes.
doing the same thing. We're creating that reality in our body in this moment with very power. We're using that same power unconsciously to feel bad.
Yeah.
So we got the power. We get to choose how we use it. And
Yes.
I like to choose to feel better whenever possible. I don't always choose that. Sometimes I'm like, nope, I'm gonna be victim because I'm a victim, and I do it and it feels awful, and then I come out of it.
Right. Right. Same.
Right? I know. Thanks, Bethany.
Yeah. I think that recognizing that you can get out of it, though, for years, I just stayed in victimhood. I didn't even know there
Me
was a
too.
different way.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know. We forget our power.
Oh,
We forget how powerful we are.
yes. Yes.
And we're taught to not be powerful. Not because
Right.
anybody's bad, but if you've got a little kid who's just power, just this joyous presence of power, and it doesn't make the life of parents easy, right? So it's like, no, please go to bed. It's bedtime. No, you have to get up. It's school. You have to get up. I don't care if you're tired. You have to get. So we learn to not pay attention because it makes living with other people, especially when we're kids, easier.
Right.
But we can always come back to it. That's the beauty.
Right.
We're adults, we can do that. And we can give our little kids, like you were doing such a beautiful job with your son, of giving him the power of knowing the power of his story, the power of what he chooses to think. Like he's going to be miles ahead of both you and I.
Yeah, I hope so.
He'll have his own things, right?
Yeah, right. I was trying to think, I heard someone say, I don't know if I have it written down in my book, but when you're growing up, you're I don't want to say forced, but you're taught to choose like assimilation or attachment over authenticity, right? Like because you have to assimilate into your environment to stay safe sometimes, to fit in, to be okay. You have to assimilate to whatever those caregivers are in that environment. But then as an adult, like our job is becoming our authentic selves. Like, so we go from that, and the word wasn't assimilation. I don't remember what it was. And it wasn't attachment either, but it was something, it was an A word. But as an adult, authenticity, like that's our goal, is to really be our unapologetic selves, to really lean in and know that there's so many layers to us, and what is our story, and if we don't like it, what do we want it to be, and how do we want to feel, and how do we want to show up, and what do we want our lives to look like? We have all that power.
Right? And want, I love that you just said so many wants in a row. Want is so powerful. When we allow ourselves just to want, I'm just getting chills even talking about it. Allow ourselves to want what we want, whether we get it its own, like, when you say, I want this, I mean, just say it, I want this. Actually say it.
I want this.
Yeah. I mean, it creates that power to, we may not end up getting the thing that's even better for us or more powerful, but allowing ourselves to want what we want is so powerful. It's just own little energy force that it can make life difficult for people. Like, I want this, but that's not so easy for me. Got it. I still want it. You may not be willing to give it to me. That's okay. I still get to want it. And so I'll figure out some other way to get it. Like when we want it, where we harness that energy to be more creative and see alternate paths versus, I want it. Why can't you give it to me? I needed it. And you have to, like, a very different energy. And then, I want this. You don't want to give it to me? Okay. I'm going to go over here. I want this, right? It's just, it's power producing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I wrote down 2 more things, and then I want to be able to have you share how people can connect with you. But so the first one was, you're not broken, you're on a journey. The second one is, loving yourself begins with paying attention to how you're feeling in your body. And then the third thing I wrote down was choosing the story that's more true for you. Like, if there's nothing else that you take away from our time together, listeners, or if you're watching this, it is, what's the story that's more true for you? Like, what do you want to believe? How do you, just asking yourself that is huge, moment to moment. That'll change your perspective. I mean, in an instant.
Yep. Even asking the question is powerful. We don't have to know the answers. Asking the question is power in itself.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for being here. And this conversation is amazing. I loved our time together. Can you tell people how they can connect with you, Jane?
Yes. You can find me on my website at everydaylove.me. I love that. I just love that title. Like, I love that title. And on Facebook, I'm Everyday Love. And I can't remember what my Twitter handle is.
I think I might have that. I'll put it in the
Awesome.
notes
Thank
here.
you.
So thank you again so much for being here today. I'd love to talk again. I think we should do this
Me
again.
too.
And this is great conversations. Thanks for being you, for showing up, for being vulnerable, sharing your story. I know that you dealt hope today, and I really deeply appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm honored to share this conversation with you.